Hi there, I am Pamela Petrick, also known as the Dietless Dieting Coach, and I am a registered nurse, a certified holistic health coach, and busy women come to me when they are ready to ditch the yo-yo dieting, the constant weight regain, and the fatigue, and they are ready for natural, holistic strategies for their unique bodies so they can release the weight, keep it off, and feel light and free. And when they work with me via my Beyond the Fork Academy, we customize their journey for their own unique body. And so I am on a mission for you to find those solutions that are natural and holistic that'll work for your unique body, which is exactly why I created the Beyond the Food Weight Loss Summit, specifically designed for women over 40 who are ready to break free from the constant weight regain and nothing's working for you. This summit is different because I'm bringing together experts who will share their top strategies to help you release weight naturally without extreme diets, restrictions, or extreme workouts, and help you to achieve lasting weight loss and transform your health for good. Plus, every expert is giving you a free gift, all specifically geared for women over 40. Do you have your pen ready? It's time for our next featured expert for the Beyond the Food Weight Loss Summit, Real Solutions for Women Over 40.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Vanessa Imus, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and the founder of Integrated Nutrition for Weight Loss. I work primarily with busy moms who are trying to lose weight in a sustainable, realistic way. I don't promote extreme diets or extreme restriction. It's all about what habits can I help people build that's going to help them to lose weight and keep it off for good. Because most of the time, that's what people want. They don't want to just lose weight temporarily. They want to keep it off for good. So that leads into my talk today, which is about insulin resistance. And it's something I see all the time, especially with those struggling with weight loss. It's one of the most common yet misunderstood reasons that women struggle to lose weight, even when they're doing so many things right. So my goal today is to simplify this topic so you feel empowered to understand what's happening in your body and what you can do about it. So, as I mentioned before, I'm Vanessa Imus. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist specializing in weight loss. I've been helping many people lose weight. Right now, I specialize in helping busy moms lose weight because I am myself a busy mom. I have three young kiddos. They're 3 years old, 5 years old, and 8 years old at this time. I'm the founder of Integrated Nutrition for Weight Loss, which gives you tools and resources to lose weight and keep it off for good. I am a part time coordinator for a bariatric and weight loss program at our local hospital. I do some freelance writing. I dabble in a lot of stuff, some media work. I also am a consultant for a weight loss study that one of our other local hospitals is doing. So I like to stay busy, clearly. So first off, I'm going to explain what insulin resistance actually is and how it develops. We'll break it down without all the medical jargon so it's easy to understand. Then we'll explore how it affects your metabolism, your appetite, fat storage, especially around the abdomen. And I'll explain why so many conventional weight loss strategies, like slashing calories or going super, super low carb, can actually make things worse for women with insulin resistance. So, what is insulin resistance? What is insulin itself? And why does it matter? So, quick refresher for people that don't actually know what insulin is, because we talk a lot about it. But it is a hormone, which means it sends signals to other places in the body, and it's made by the pancreas. And its job is to move glucose, which is sugar, from the food we eat that goes into our digestive system to move that sugar out of our bloodstream and into our cells, where our cells can use it for energy. So after a meal, your blood sugar naturally rises and insulin is produced in response that helps to lower it because it's shuttling that sugar into the cells. But here's where the problem starts: when we're exposed to high levels of sugar and refined carbohydrates. And if we're doing that frequently, then that can get our cells to start ignoring insulin's signal. Other factors that we'll talk about, like stress, sleep, lifestyle habits, if those are out of balance, that can also interfere with the cells signaling, which starts to ignore insulin resistance. So it's sort of like somebody's knocking on the door, um, and you're just not answering it. You're not hearing it anymore, right? It could be like your kid screaming in the background. At some point, you're like, I'm just going to ignore that because it's not stopping. So that's what's happening with insulin. Like our cells are not responding to insulin anymore because we just keep, she really just keeps shuttling sugar at them all at once and all the time. So the body tries to compensate by making even more insulin to get the job done because it's still that sugar needs to go into the cells for energy. And when the insulin stays elevated for too long, because we keep producing more and more, it pushes your body into fat storage mode. The liver is going to take that sugar in the bloodstream and package it up as fat instead of burning through it right away. And this also drives more cravings, energy crashes, and all sorts of things that are not beneficial for our overall health. So, insulin resistance and how it contributes to weight gain. So, when insulin levels are constantly high, there are several things that happen that make weight loss more difficult. First, your body becomes more efficient at storing fat, particularly around the belly. And the hard part about that is that drives more insulin resistance. So, we're in this vicious cycle. And this type of fat is hormonally active and increases inflammation, which also further worsens insulin resistance. You could also stop burning fat efficiently when this is happening, when you have these high levels of insulin, because the body's using excess insulin in glucose instead of tapping into stored energy or stored fat. And then there's the hunger piece where insulin resistance can reduce the hormone leptin. That's the hormone that says, hey, you're full, you should stop eating. So even if you just ate, you're still going to feel hungry or unsatisfied. So it's driving you to eat more. And then you add in mood swings from these energy dips, these blood sugar fluctuations. You add in mood swings, you add in fatigue, cravings. And I mean, it's easy to see why you get stuck and frustrated because those are all drivers for eating and usually choosing foods that are not the healthiest. So here's the most important takeaway though. This isn't a willpower issue, it's physiological. This is what's happening physiologically in your body. Your body's actually working against you until you're able to shift things with some strategies we'll talk about. So, who's most at risk for developing insulin resistance? You might think it only affects people with diabetes or those who eat poorly, but it's really super common. It's more common than that, and especially among women. If you have a family history of diabetes, prediabetes, or PCOS, your risk is already elevated. But even with these conditions, many of the things busy moms deal with every day, like chronic stress, poor sleep, skipping meals, relying on fast processed foods, all those things slowly contribute and create the perfect storm to develop insulin resistance. Postpartum hormone shifts are going to impact insulin resistance, perimenopause, and even well intentioned dieting can add fuel to the fire. This is why I say if you're struggling to lose weight despite your best efforts, it's time to consider insulin resistance as part of the picture. So, how do you know if you have insulin resistance or that might be part of your story, that difficulty in losing weight? Well, it's something you can diagnose, it's something that you can't necessarily diagnose yourself. There are some common red flags that you might see. I see these in clients, especially women in their 30s and 40s. One is feeling super tired after meals. Like you just might feel like, oh my gosh, I just ate and now I want to take a nap. Especially meals that are higher in carbohydrates. Instead of feeling energized, your body may struggle to regulate that glucose spike that leaves you feeling sluggish. Another major sign is frequent cravings for sugar or refined carbs, like white carbs, processed food, especially in the late afternoon or evening. This happens because the cells aren't responding well to insulin. So glucose isn't getting in, and then your brain thinks you need more quick energy. And what does that lead to? High sugar intake, right? And difficulty losing weight can also be a sign that you may be insulin resistant. And like I talked about, particularly around the midsection, that's a hallmark of insulin resistance. If you're eating well and staying active, but nothing seems to change, it's worth considering that insulin could be playing a role. Brain fog, irritability, shakiness between meals can also point to blood sugar instability. If you feel like you're crashing a few hours after eating, your blood sugar may be dropping too fast, triggering stress responses and mood changes. And then finally, on the clinical side, elevated fasting glucose, like if you get your labs done, or elevated A1C levels, which are commonly tested if somebody thinks you might be at risk for diabetes. Those can be early indicators of insulin resistance, even if your doctor hasn't said like the word diabetes or pre-diabetes. Another test that they can do that is not super common yet, but it is becoming more and more popular among primary care doctors is actually testing your insulin levels to see if they're elevated. So they should be within a certain range. And if they're elevated beyond that range, your body is overproducing insulin, which is telling us, hey, your cells are responding to the insulin you're making, so they're overproducing. And that is going to be a telltale diagnosis of insulin resistance. Um, so if you're nodding, yes, oh my gosh, I have these, just several of these, don't worry, you're not alone. And the good news is there's a lot we can do to address it through nutrition, lifestyle, and support. So, what does work? There are 4 key principles I use with my clients to start improving insulin sensitivity and supporting long term weight loss without the stress and extremes. Blood sugar balance, that means eating regular meals with PFC, protein, fiber, and carbohydrates. So, what does work? There are 4 key principles I use with my clients to start improving insulin sensitivity and supporting long term weight loss without the stress and extremes. Blood sugar balance is one of them. Eating regular meals with a mix of protein, healthy fats, and fiber rich carbs helps to stabilize energy, reduce cravings, and prevent spikes and crashes in blood sugar. Reducing inflammation. So, this means nourishing the body with whole unprocessed foods, reducing added sugars. We'll talk about sleep and stress a little bit more. Movement, strength training, even like walking after meals is super helpful to help with insulin sensitivity, to bring back that insulin sensitivity. You don't need intense workouts, and adding resistance training can significantly help as well. And then sustainable change. It's not about overhauling your life overnight. It's about building one supportive habit at a time that you can become consistent with, and then you can add on additional habits that fit into your lifestyle. So over time, you're going to develop these huge changes, but not all at once, because we want it to be sustainable so that you stick with it, so that you can see these lasting changes. And when all these pieces come together consistently, the body begins to heal and respond, and the scale starts to move. Not because you forced it, but because you supported your physiology. So here we've got our macronutrients, 3 main macronutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, right? Carbohydrates are a primary energy source, proteins are essential for growth and repair, and fats are important for cell function and hormone balance. So I often teach what's called PFC. It's a method that just breaking down protein, fats, and carbs at every meal, right? When you eat in this combination, it slows digestion, it improves fullness, and it prevents those sharp spikes and falls in blood sugar. So here's what that might look like in real life. So instead of like toast and jam, that's carb or sugar, right? Sugar is a carbohydrate. Carbohydrates break down pretty quick on their own, and they break down into sugar. So if we just have carbohydrate in a meal that's breaking down into sugar, that's going into our bloodstream pretty quickly on its own. Well, now if we switch it up, and let's say we've got that toast, but we put almond butter on it and we have a hard boiled egg on the side. Almond butters are fats and a little bit of protein. Boiled egg is our protein. That's going to help because it's going to slow down how quickly those carbohydrates break down and turn into sugar. So instead of getting this flood of sugar all at once, you're getting a slow, steady release of sugar into your bloodstream over a longer period of time. That keeps your blood sugar stable, which means you don't have to have these big spikes and a big response for a big spike in insulin right after that. Some other swaps like Greek yogurt with berries and flaxseed, that would be a great one. So a little bit more about protein. We really want to prioritize protein at every meal. Yes, it's great to get a certain amount of protein over the course of the day, but it's not giving you as much benefit if you're not breaking up your total protein needs into each meal throughout the day. So 25% of your protein intake is at breakfast, 25 lunch, 25% at dinner, and the rest divvied out between snacks. So, research suggests that adequate protein intake can help stabilize blood sugar and reduce insulin spikes. Protein slows digestion, which prevents rapid blood sugar or glucose absorption. So, protein sources would be like lean meats, chicken, turkey, grass fed beef, fish, other seafood, eggs, plant based proteins like tofu, tempeh, lentils, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. You really want to try to aim for about 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. And it'll vary a little bit depending on the individual, right? If we've got some super active, really tall man versus a petite woman that's not very active, those needs are going to be a little bit different. Next up is carbohydrates. So when we're choosing carbohydrates, we got to remember not all carbs are bad, and they're actually a way to get fiber in our body. A lot of these super low, extremely low carbohydrate diets, people aren't getting enough fiber, and fiber promotes gut health, which helps insulin sensitivity. Fiber also promotes gut health, which helps reduce inflammation. So all these things are working together. When we talk about when we talk about fiber-rich carbohydrates, we're talking about like low glycemic, so things that are going to not impact your blood sugar as much. High fiber diet is going to slow down the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. It, like I said, promotes gut health and it helps with weight management. So studies suggest that people who consume 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day have better insulin sensitivity. Great sources include avocados. That's like my number one thing at breakfast. Avocado on a piece of toast with a fried egg on top. Throw some spinach on there, have some fruit. Awesome. Fruits like berries are super high in fiber. Those are great, but even apples, pears, anything with the skin on them, those are good choices. Legumes, so beans and lentils, very high fiber. Plus they have some protein. And then whole grains. So you've got like your whole grain bread or your whole grain noodles, or even going for not just the whole grain noodles, but now there's like chickpea noodles and lentil noodles. Those are even higher fiber. And your non-starchy vegetables are going to be great choices as well, like your leafy greens, bell peppers, broccoli, all those kinds of things. You just want to try to avoid or very or enjoy in very limited amounts the refined carbs like white bread, white pasta, white rice, sugary foods, those kind of processed snacks, anything like that that we know is not going to be ideal for a healthy diet or weight loss. The last part of the macronutrients to focus on is fats. They play a crucial role in blood sugar control and insulin sensitivity. Healthy fats are going to help keep you full, reduce cravings, and support cell membrane health. So the best sources, avocados is going to double in healthy fats and fiber. Nuts and seeds are going to be healthy fats, a little bit of fiber and protein. Think even like chia seeds and flax seeds, which are great sources of omega-3, a special type of fat that is really helpful for reducing inflammation. That also comes from fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines. Olive oil, coconut oil, those are going to be healthy fats. Think of fats that come from plant sources, and those are going to be most of your healthy fats. Avoiding trans fats and highly processed vegetable oils. I know there's this like very high anti-seed oil movement. It's not necessarily the seed oil. There's actually lots of research to prove that those are helpful in a healthy diet. It's the processed ones or the ones that are coming from processed foods that contribute to inflammation and insulin resistance. And then beyond the macronutrients, we really want to focus on meal timing because that can have a surprising impact on insulin sensitivity. And for many of my clients, just getting into a more regular eating rhythm makes a huge difference in energy, appetite, and weight loss. When we go too long between meals, when we skip meals, which I know it's easy to do, especially if you're somebody that has young kids, right? Like, oh my God, I have so much to do. How am I going to get all this stuff done? I'm just going to skip lunch. No big deal. I'm going to save calories. That's working against you. That sets off a stress response that increases cortisol and triggers cravings, especially for carbs and sugar. So come 3 o'clock, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I want cookies. I want something, that's super rich in, or like a high caloric food that's rich in sugar because that goes into our bloodstream super quick. So we don't want to skip meals because that sets us up for those cravings and that excess hunger later in the day, especially if you're an evening snacker or a double date or a double dish dinner eater. So you go back for seconds often. That's usually driven by not eating enough earlier in the day. So having something every 3 to 5 hours I typically say like every 3 to 4. Starting within a 2-hour window of waking up is going to be ideal. Yes, you could do some fasting. 12-hour fasting is still great. You stop eating at 7, you start eating at 7. That still gives your body a chance to reset and get a little bit of those benefits from intermittent fasting. I find that it's hard for people to put it into practice consistently. And so I generally recommend doing, like the more strict intermittent fasting with a shorter eating window. Um, One of the most helpful shifts, like I mentioned, starting eating within an hour or two of waking up, but also making sure you've got that protein because that's going to help set the stage for the day. I also encourage minimizing late night eating. That is going to help you also be hungry earlier in the day so you can have breakfast. And then when you have breakfast earlier in the day, it's going to help you not eat as much late at night. So they go hand in hand. And again, it's not about like super rigid rules. It's about understanding how your body works and aligning your habits with your hormones. Meal timing is one of those simple ways to actually do that. Now let's talk a little bit about hydration. We all know water is super helpful for a number of things. But related to insulin, it helps with insulin sensitivity and metabolic health. And even mild dehydration can lead to higher blood sugar concentrations because there's less fluid in the bloodstream to dilute circulating glucose. This can trigger stress hormones like cortisol, which in turn impact insulin function. So staying well hydrated supports kidney function. It also plays a role in excreting excess glucose through the urine, right? Like that's part of the job of our kidneys. When hydration is low, the natural detox mechanism within our kidneys slows down. And then also, it's going to help us with satiety, right? If we're staying hydrated, we're going to stay full throughout the day. If we're dehydrated, we tend to crave food because it's an imperfect mechanism in our body that says, hey, you're hungry when you're actually thirsty or dehydrated. A general guide is to aim for about half your body weight in ounces of water per day. So let's say you weigh 160 pounds, that's roughly 80 ounces. You'll likely need more if you're active, you sweat a lot, or you're eating a super high protein diet. I see sometimes where people are recommending a gallon a day. Honestly, sometimes that can be too much for people. So you want to kind of play into kind of your weight and activity level to get a better idea. And then don't forget there's hydrating foods as well, like soups and different kinds of fruits and vegetables. So hydration is a super easy, low effort, high impact strategy that I recommend to all my clients. It's a great place to start if you're looking to reduce insulin resistance naturally. The next piece I'll touch on is movement or exercise. The interesting thing about exercise is you actually don't need insulin to take sugar from your bloodstream into your cells of your body when you're exercising. So it just takes away that whole need, and you can divert sugar into your like muscle cells for energy without needing insulin. Pretty cool, huh? Our body's just sort of making up its own rules to be most efficient. And the best part about exercise for insulin resistance is it doesn't have to be super intense or super time consuming. Walking post meals is a great way to improve blood sugar. And then strength training builds muscle, which is going to help to increase your glucose uptake without insulin. And again, it's more about consistency than it is about intensity. 150 minutes per week would be ideal. You can break that up into 15 minutes twice a day, however you want to do it that fits with your schedule, because a lot of times we overthink it and think, oh my gosh, I got to get an hour session in, and then we don't do it. If you start thinking, oh, I just got to get 10-minute walk in after dinner, that's a lot more doable. Muscle is metabolically active, so it gives you more metabolic flexibility. And let's talk a little bit about stress. So, stress is actually a piece that's often overlooked in that role with insulin resistance. Even when someone's eating well and moving their body, chronic stress can keep the body in a state of resistance and fat storage. So, when we're under stress, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, our body releases cortisol, which is the main stress hormone. And that naturally raises blood sugar to help us fight or flee. But in a modern chronic stress environment, that response becomes problematic. And so chronically elevated cortisol leads to higher blood sugar and increased insulin secretion, which over time can worsen insulin resistance, especially around the abdominal area where stress related fat tends to accumulate. Plus, it can drive overeating, hunger, and sugar cravings, poor sleep, fatigue. It just creates this vicious cycle. So think about some stress reduction cycle or strategies that you can use, like deep breathing, walking, journaling, spending more time with friends, laughing, time in nature, listening to music. Small practices are going to have a cumulative effect on your hormone balance. All right, let's talk a little bit about sleep. So, sleep is one of the most underestimated tools we have when it comes to improving insulin sensitivity and achieving sustainable weight loss. Research shows that even one night of poor sleep can impair your body's ability to regulate blood sugar the next day. It also raises cortisol and disrupts key hunger hormones, leading to stronger cravings, especially for carbs and sugar. Over time, the chronic sleep deprivation increases inflammation and promotes fat storage, particularly around, you guessed it, the belly. And this becomes a vicious cycle for many women. So, the good news, improving sleep is one of the most accessible and impactful changes you can make. No special diet, no workouts required, more rest, right? I recommend about 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And if that feels impossible, even improving the quality of your current sleep can help. So, how can we improve quality? We can focus on sleep hygiene. So, a few strategies that work well for some of my clients are keeping a consistent bedtime, even on the weekends. I know that can be hard. That's like your time where it's like, oh, I can stay up late, but chances are you still have to get up early. Turn off screens at least 30 to 60 minutes before bed. This is hard. A lot of people sleep with their screens right next to them. But if you do have poor sleep quality, that's something you can do to help. That blue light is not going to be helpful. It's going to disrupt your circadian rhythms. And then creating a relaxing bedtime ritual that might be like stretching or reading a book, maybe journaling before bedtime. Make sure the room is cool, dark, and quiet. Maybe you have a sound machine, white noise that you can play in the background if there are other noises that wake you up in the middle of the night. And just, these small changes can significantly improve hormone regulation and energy levels because it can improve your sleep quality and quantity. When you're trying to figure out how much sleep to get, work backwards, or not how much sleep to get, but when to go to bed, kind of work backwards. If I need to go to sleep at 11 in order to get up at 7, like I'm going to have to come upstairs to start my bedtime routine, let's say at 10 o'clock. So that means I'm going to have to finish whatever I'm doing downstairs at 9:30, like work backwards to figure out what time you actually need to head up or head to your bedroom for bed in order to go to sleep at the time that you need to go to sleep to get the hours of sleep between 7 to 9. And then the last part of this presentation, we're going to talk a little bit about supplements. I like to rely mostly on lifestyle strategies, nutrition strategies, but sometimes those aren't quite enough to get your insulin sensitivity to where it needs to be. So they are the foundation of reversing insulin resistance, but supplements can play a supportive role, especially when used under the guidance of like a dietitian or another practitioner that can help you. So magnesium, we talk about a little bit first. That's a mineral that's often depleted by stress, and it helps to regulate blood sugar and support better sleep and recovery. I've seen tons of labs for different nutrition markers. Magnesium is consistently low for a majority of people. The food that we eat just doesn't have the nutrition it used to have because the soil is becoming depleted in those nutrients from overuse. So magnesium, one that's super helpful. Usually 150 to 300 milligrams at night is a good time to take it because sometimes it can cause looser stools, which may be problematic if you're taking it first thing in the morning. Plus, it helps your body relax, your muscles relax, and it can help a little bit with anxiety for people. Omega-3 fatty acids, if you're not getting enough from your food intake, like fatty fish, then you can focus on getting a supplement like a fish oil or algae-based supplement. And that's really helpful for reducing inflammation and then supporting metabolic health overall. One of the more well-researched supplements for insulin resistance is actually berberine. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. It's a plant compound that's shown to improve glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. It's pretty powerful, and sometimes it's compared to the same activity as metformin. Metformin is a medication that's helpful for prediabetes, diabetes, and PCOS. And then it can help reduce your blood sugar or keep it into the optimal range. just as efficiently as something like metformin. Plus, it's one that's also helpful for digestion. It plays a role in gut health. Some more supplements here. Chromium, that's another good one. Chromium and alpha lipoic acid are components that are going to help with insulin sensitivity, blood sugar regulation, carbohydrate metabolism. Alpha lipoic acid helps reduce oxidative stress. And then vitamin D is a big one because I will tell you, like 90% of the people that I see tested for vitamin D are deficient or very, very low. So optimal ranges tend to run 30 to 100. Your practitioner might say you're fine, you're at 31. Well, not really. Optimal is more like around 50 when you're getting your lab work done. And vitamin D is super important because it plays a huge role in hormonal balance. And with where I live in the Pacific Northwest, I would say most of us are deficient if we're not supplementing because you only get it from the sun. And you can make quite a bit from the sun if you're out in the sun without sunscreen. Then you can make 10,000 international units. So when people are supplementing, generally 2,000 international units a day is a good range. If you're severely deficient, you might need more than that. And then the last one, which I should have included first because honestly is one of my favorite for blood sugar and insulin resistance, is myo-inositol. And myo-inositol also has been compared to metformin. People that can't tolerate metformin because of digestive effects, like sometimes it causes diarrhea, myo-inositol is like a great option because it does a lot of the same work that metformin would do in terms of enhancing sugar uptake by the cells to improve insulin sensitivity, but without those side effects. It's just like a powder you put in water. It's slightly sweet. You take it twice a day, and it's pretty easy to take. So in people with insulin resistance, the signaling is impaired. And so supplementing with really a lot of these supplements, depending on your nutritional needs, again, work with a dietitian to figure out what might be the best option, can help to restore that communication. And then supplements, I will say, though, they're not going to be like your magic bullet. You still have to use it alongside nutrition, movement, sleep, all those things we talked about earlier in this presentation. Okay, so action plan and summary. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with 5 simple, realistic steps you can take today to begin supporting your body and reducing insulin resistance. So these are the things I regularly assign to clients who are balancing mom life, maybe careers as well, time with their spouse, self-improvement. I mean, there's so many things we have to balance, right? So let's break it down. Eat 3 balanced meals per day. Not 1, not 2, 3. Make them balanced by using the PFC method. Add 1 blood sugar friendly snack in the afternoon. This can help a ton for preventing that 3 p.m. crash, and it can also help with reducing nighttime cravings. A lot of people, they go to dinner hungry, they eat too much, they eat too fast because they didn't have that afternoon snack. This is going to help stabilize your blood sugar so you're not running into that issue. Prioritize sleep, 7+ hours of sleep. I know that's hard, but try to get there. Maybe slowly increase. If you're only at 5.5, okay, I'm going to work to get to 6 next week. All right, in 2 weeks, I'm going to get to 6.5. Like slowly increase it. Stay hydrated. That's an easy one. Just make sure you have a water bottle with you at all times. Maybe track how much you're actually drinking so that you can fine tune how many bottles you need to go through in a day to meet your needs. And then incorporating your daily movement. All these 5 things are going to help you. And they're little things, right? Like you could focus on 1 per week until you got it solidified. And then you can add in an additional. So eventually, maybe over 5 or 6 weeks, you get to all 5 of them. But remember, you don't have to overhaul your life all at once. Start small, stay consistent, and give your body time to respond. And we can't try these things and then after even just a month say, oh my gosh, it's not working. Like, no, our body takes time to respond. It might take a couple months to actually have an effect and lower your blood sugar. There's newer tools that I hadn't had a chance to add into as well, where you can actually get blood sugar monitors, glucometers, without having diabetes. Some of them are geared towards people with prediabetes, and some you can just go online and get. And you can monitor your blood sugar, and you can monitor the impact that your food and your lifestyle habits have on your blood sugar levels because it's something you wear. It's like a little device you wear on your arm, and it's tracking your blood sugar all day throughout the day. One sensor usually lasts 2 weeks. You can get them anywhere from $50 to $100, but that's another option for you. Okay, final thoughts. Insulin resistance, it's not a life sentence. It's something you can make progress on. Start with small, consistent changes. You don't have to be perfect. We're just talking about progress. These small steps are going to make a profound impact on your health and your weight over time. And free gifts. So I'll talk about my free gifts that I included. Everybody should have access to the insulin resistance cheat sheet. This is kind of the abbreviation of everything I talked about today. Learn exactly what to eat and when to balance your blood sugar and fight insulin resistance. There's simple steps that reduce cravings, stabilize energy, and help you break through stubborn weight loss resistance. It's backed by science and experience. This cheat sheet outlines the nutrition and lifestyle habits that actually move the needle for weight loss and metabolic health. So be sure to pick that up. And then those of you that have the all access path, you have access to my free gift, which is a 14-day meal plan for insulin resistance, which includes satisfying dinners and snacks to stabilize blood sugar and fight insulin resistance, as well as grocery lists for each week, each week of this meal plan. And it also includes information about like smart swaps to reduce your toxin load, and then supporting hormonal health without blowing your budget. So thank you everybody for being here. I know it's a lot of information. I kind of like whipped through it as fast as I could because I want to make sure you have all the information to make these changes, and to get a benefit out of improving your insulin resistance so that you can lose weight. So it's a lot easier. You can get in touch with me. My website is inutritioncenter.com. So that's integrated nutrition for weight loss. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope you got a lot out of this talk, and I hope to see you elsewhere in my world of nutrition.